Welcome to this explainer, everyone. Today, we're unpacking a truly foundational era, the Vedic Age. This is a dense, fascinating period where epic battles and profound societal shifts literally forged ideas that still govern modern thought. We're going to dive right in and explore how these ancient people lived, fought, and thought, and see exactly how their legacy, built thousands of years ago, still echoes in our world today.
Okay, let's dive into this. Here is our roadmap to help us navigate thousands of years of complex civilizational shifts. Dawn of the Vedic Age, governance, society, and economy. The Vedic pantheon, weapons, war, and horses. And finally, sacred texts and epics.
Section 1. The Dawn of the Vedic Age. Let's see how historians actually trace the origins and movements of these ancient peoples.
So, tracing the structural evolution of ancient India, we see this dramatic shift starting around 2500 BC. We have the highly urban Indus Valley civilization, right? But moving pre-1000 BC into the early Rigvedic society, there's a distinct pivot to a pastoral, nomadic way of life. Then by 1000 to 600 BC, iron starts spreading across North India, which completely ushers in the agrarian, land-focused later Vedic and Brahmana eras, followed closely by the Sutra period. Now, what's absolutely fascinating when we talk about the Aryans of this pastoral period is the linguistic link. The historical sources tell us that the Indo-Iranian group who composed the Zoroastrian scriptures, the Avesta, over in present-day Iran, also called themselves Aryans. It's just a massive, incredible cultural bridge spanning vast ancient geographies.
Moving on to Section 2, Governance, Society, and Economy. Let's get into the daily life and political structure of the Vedic people.
To understand how these people sustain themselves day to day, we really have to look at governance. While descended monarchy was definitely the most popular system during the Vedic era, the sources actually show us fascinating hints of early elections by the people. And this brilliantly illustrates the ancient checks and balances of that time, the Sabha and the Samiti. The Sabha was this assembly of the learned and elite, deeply associated with judicial functions, and it's actually mentioned 8 times in the Rig Veda. The Samiti, meanwhile, was the broader assembly for the common people. These assemblies were so fundamental to keeping autocratic kings in check that the Atharva Veda reverently refers to them as the 2 daughters of the deity Prajapati.
As society progressed into the early Christian era, which is known in ancient Indian history as the Dharmashastra period, social norms became increasingly rigid. Historically speaking, it was during this exact era that the concept of untouchability assumed a definite shape, as Brahmanical religion gained ascendancy and social customs were strictly practiced. Yet, even within these developing, rigid structures, there were moments of profound societal questioning. For instance, the ancient Chandogya Upanishad records the story of Satyakama Jabala, who, as a young boy and later a revered Vedic sage, directly challenged the societal stigma of being born to an unmarried mother.
On the economic front, it is kind of wild to think that agriculture and hunting were so key for the Aryans, that the exact foods sitting in our pantries right now are an unbroken link back to them. When you eat rice or mung beans today, you're partaking in what they called vrihi and mudga. Yava meant barley or millet, and ikshu stood for sugarcane. So the foundation of their daily survival remains essentially identical to ours.
But beyond grains, the true bedrock of their economy was cattle. Cattle breeding was literally their most important economic activity. The cow was so highly revered it was given the specific title aganya, which means not worthy of being killed. Cows were pious, for sure, but they were also a highly functional medium of exchange. People actively prayed for more cattle. Alongside this livestock-driven economy, a distinct class of treaters emerged, known as the Pani, while the incredibly complex task of state revenue administration was handled by officials called the Bagaduga.
All right, Section 3, the Vedic Pantheon. Let's explore the religion of the Rig Vedic Aryans.
Their religion was rooted deeply in the natural world. It had a remarkably polytheistic character, blending nature worship with this unique concept known as Ekaikavawad, which basically meant they treated whichever deity was being worshipped at that exact moment as the supreme god. Now, what's really interesting about this is the sheer dominance of one specific deity. Indra commands a massive 250 hymns in the Rig Veda, making him the most powerful and popular divinity, followed by Agni, the fire god, with 200. Indra wasn't just any god, he was the king of heaven, the storm god, and the god of war, who famously wielded the thunderbolt. His followers prayed to him not just for rain, but to actively punish sinners and crush their enemies.
Beyond Indra and Agni, the Vedic gods were neatly categorized into 3 realms. You had the gods of the sky, like Varuna, who was the strict guardian of moral order, alongside Mitra, Surya, and Vishnu. Then, the gods of space featured Indra and Rudra, and the gods of the earth included Agni, Brihaspati, and Soma. But for these people, geography itself was theology. The Saraswati River was considered the absolute most pious entity on earth, revered in the Rig Veda as the best of all mothers, the best of all goddesses, and the best of all rivers.
Section 4. Weapons, War, and Horses. Let's shift our focus to conflict and technology. Despite all their deep spiritualism, the Vedic Age was a fiercely contested time. Take the famous Dasharajnya, or the Battle of 10 Kings, fought on the banks of the Purushani River. Here, King Sudas achieved a massive, thumping victory over a confederacy of 10 opposing kings. How did he pull off such military dominance? Well, it comes down to a stark technological contrast. The Rig Vedic Aryans were heavily equipped for war. They used horses, chariots, and weaponry made of copper, iron, gold, and silver. They even wore coats of mail and helmets into battle. In fact, recent excavations at Bhagwanpura have uncovered horse bones from this exact period. In sharp contrast, the earlier Indus Valley people appear to have been a society of merchants who left virtually no evidence of weapons and only worked with copper and bronze. The Aryans owed much of their incredible success to the sheer speed and power of the horse and chariot.
Section 5. Sacred Texts and Epics. This is where we see their profound literary legacy. To really grasp this legacy, you have to realize the sheer scale of it all. The formal recording of the Rig Veda in the basic Brahmi script resulted in 10 mandals, housing a staggering 10,552 mantras, which were meticulously recited by priests called hota. Alongside the Vedas, we have the Puranas. There are 18 major texts, with the Srimad Bhagavatam widely considered the crown jewel. A true Purana actually has 5 specific characteristics. It covers Sarga, which is natural creation, Pratisarga or renovation, Vansa, the history of sages and gods, Manvantara, the cosmic periods of Manus, and finally Vanshanucharit, the genealogy of kings. That final characteristic is super crucial because historians actively use texts like the Vishnu, Vayu, and Matsya Puranas today. They serve as actual historical ledgers for real dynasties like the Mauryan, Gupta, and Andhra Satavahana.
These texts are also filled with some of the most vibrant mythology ever recorded. Just take the churning of the ocean of milk, or Kasira Saga. It's a wildly elaborate process on a true cosmic scale. Step 1. The massive Mount Mandara is uprooted and used as a giant churning rod. Step 2. Vasuki, the legendary king of serpents, becomes the churning rope. And step 3. To prevent the mountain from sinking into the cosmic ocean, Lord Vishnu incarnates as the Kurma avatar, a giant turtle, to support the mighty mountain on his back.
Let's move to and see how this builds when we look at the great epics. The Mahabharata obviously stands out, but its origins are incredibly humble. Written by the sage Veda-Vyasa, it originally featured a relatively modest 8,800 shlokas, and its original name was simply Jaya or Jaya Samhita. From that starting point of 8,800, the text evolved and expanded massively over generations, swelling to an astonishing 100,000 shlokas. This sheer size earned it the nickname Shatasahasri Samhita. Embedded right within this sprawling epic are the 700 profound verses of the Bhagavad Gita, making the whole compilation one of the longest and most culturally significant works in human history.
Now, the literature of the era wasn't just mythological. It was incredibly practical. What we're seeing here is a deliberate systemization of life itself. Ayurveda, the science of life, formalized the care of the body, appearing first as an Apaveda of the Atharva Veda, and it covered everything from disease prevention to the art of love poetry. Education was formalizing too. The mind was cultivated as Apadaya became the official title for those who adopted teaching as a formal profession to earn a livelihood. And the soul was guided by the 16 sanskars, these structured rites of passage guiding a person from before birth all the way to after death.
So the crucial point is that these ancient texts aren't just dead history. They are very much alive in our modern consciousness. Take this powerful quote from the Brihadaranyaka Upanishad, Tamasoma Jyotirgamaya, which means, lead us from darkness to light. It's this deep sentiment of seeking truth over ignorance that resonates universally today. Similarly, the famous Gayatri mantra, first written in the Rig Veda by the sage Vishwamitra, continues to be chanted deliberately by millions today.
We even see this legacy at the very foundation of modern nation-states. Satyameva Jayate, truth alone triumphs. Originating from the ancient Mundak Upanishad, this phrase is so culturally resonant that it was officially adopted as India's national motto on January 26, 1950. It leaves us with a fascinating thought to end on today. If a single phrase from thousands of years ago can define the core ethos of a modern nation, what other ancient wisdom is hiding in plain sight, just waiting for you to discover?